What's going on out there, everybody? Welcome to a very special episode of ScreenSpeak, the podcast that's all about movies, life, and so much more. My name's Jordan Anderson, this is my podcast, and as always, I thank each and every one of you for coming by and giving it a listen. This episode is a very special one for me because it marks the 100th episode of this podcast. Wow. Before I say anything further on that, I have to take a moment and acknowledge and again thank you, the listeners, because I would not have made it to 100 episodes without you. Without your attention, without your time, without your support of the show. None of this is possible without you. So again, thank you very much for being a listener of this show. Whether you are just tuning into the show or you have been here since the beginning, I seriously appreciate each and every one of you, and above all, appreciate you for supporting and being a willing participant to engage more and dive deeper with me into the world of movies, art, and entertainment. Because of all this, I decided to do something I've never done before in the history of the show, which is to host my first ever live episode of ScreenSpeak. Now, what you're about to listen to is just that, the live recording of the show. Originally, this was recorded on November 2nd at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time and made its debut over Instagram. Now, the reason I decided Instagram as opposed to YouTube for the first ever live show is for two reasons. One, my primary social media activity shared for the podcast takes place there, and that's where I'm trying to build the most online presence at right now outside of Spotify and Apple and all that good stuff. And because my show is primarily audio-based for the moment, I didn't see a need to try to steer everyone over to YouTube when I haven't really had the time, honestly, to make a fully fleshed out and realized channel for the podcast over there that supports video. And the last reason, I think, is because I think in its own way, it gave the episode an exclusivity vibe, if you will, meaning that you had to be on Instagram in order to see the video in all its well-produced glory. And speaking of well-produced glory, I have to give a quick shout out to Jake Daniels, Michael Huntington, and the entirety of the Mediaverse Studios team in Marengo, Iowa, for having myself out there to record and produce this 100th episode of ScreenSpeak. Originally, I was just planning on doing this all out of my home office and just essentially having a long conversation with myself and taking the time to answer your questions that you submitted. But I think the way it worked out was way better because of the added video component, of course, for those that are watching live on Instagram, and of course, having good people there with me to bounce the questions that you all sent off to have a good time with. So thanks again to those guys and their work on this episode. It is possible that you may see me doing more with them down the road creatively, whether it be for the podcast or other stuff. Who knows? Only time will tell. But again, shout out and thanks to Mediaverse Studios. Now, let me go ahead and tell you what you can expect for this episode, and then we'll just get into it. So I treated this episode as an AMA episode, and that means Ask Me Anything. So a few weeks prior, I put up the bat signal, and I asked for your listener questions to read live on the show and answer in real time. And I can say I was definitely delighted by the number of questions that I received, and a really good range of questions too. Everything from your standard fare, like what inspired you to start ScreenSpeak, and some more fun and nuanced questions like if you were to change the ending of any movie, what would it be and why? Or what are your thoughts on the state of streaming that we live in right now and the current abundance or overabundance of content that it provides to us? There's terrific questions like that and a lot more that I get to play around with and answer in this episode. So if you were one of those people that did take the time to send me a question, thank you. Seriously, thank you so much for doing that. I love seeing the questions pour in. I got more than I was expecting, and it actually makes me think that this would be something to do again, because I really love having that level of engagement with you directly, and I'd like to be able to have it happen as often and as frequently as possible on the podcast when it makes sense to do so. So again, really thank you so very much for doing that. So like I said, in the episode, I answer a lot of questions. I have some fun with Jake and Michael, and I even have fun playing a game in there, at least with Jake. I don't believe Michael came into that point of the episode, but it is a lot of fun, the game that I play with Jake, so you'll have to let me know what you think about that. So definitely listen to and enjoy this episode and let me know what your thoughts are on it. Did you like the AMA format for the episode? Is this something that you would maybe be interested in seeing again? Whatever the case is, send me a comment or message on social or email the podcast at any point and let me know. All that contact information for the podcast is in the description of this and every episode of Screen Speak, so just look in there and go ahead and get a hold of me. And finally, almost last thing, if you have not done so already, or if this is your first time checking out Screen Speak, please go ahead and do me a solid and hit that follow button. Those follows help to build the show, it gets it to spread more to the movie lovers across the globe, and it gives this show more weight. So please take a moment to do that. Would absolutely love you and appreciate you forever if you do. Not that I don't for just being a listener, but I mean, come on, if you're a follower, I'm going to appreciate you that much more. And who knows, maybe one day I'll find a way to do something just for the followers of the podcast. Who knows? You know, it's never too late to throw out an idea like that, so we'll see. All right. I think that's enough of an intro, so thanks again for listening and supporting Screen Speak for 100 episodes. A lot more episodes to come, but for now, you sit back, relax, and enjoy this first ever live episode of Screen Speak. Cheers. If you're just catching in on the live stream, this is the Screen Speak Live episode 100. That's right, 100. First live ever episode I should add for the podcast. So hopefully it's going well, or if it's going like shit, tell me, be like, this fucking sucks. Let me know. I will happily acknowledge it live on the air, but I don't think that's the case. Okay, I got a couple more questions here, and then I'm going to kind of switch things up here in the episode. I got to keep you on your toes, okay? So, this next question, how do independent film festivals contribute to the industry and conversations that are had around movies? Fantastic question for this, because especially what I just mentioned about covering independent film festivals, specifically here in the state of Iowa, because that's where I know a lot of the listener base for this podcast is at. I think independent film festivals contribute to the industry just broadly, to answer that question, in a lot of great ways. I mean, this is an avenue for young, up-and-coming experimental filmmakers to put their creations together and have it be seen by an audience that's going to take them seriously. It's also a place where the distributors will get together, and of course they have their own ways of scouting movies and whatnot, and figure out ways to pick up these movies and distribute them and figure out different distribution channels and whatnot. So from a business level, there's absolutely merit to the film festivals just on that level alone. The other thing about it too is I think there's a lot of buzz that can generate from film festivals, and with the age of social media that we live in, it makes it entirely easier for those people to get together and just share that shit. Whether it be on Instagram, or am I supposed to call it X, Twitter, whatever the hell I'm supposed to call that? Instagram, the TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook. There's a million platforms now where content creators, not content creators, but filmmakers are able to have their voice heard right now. And I think film festivals are a great avenue for that. Now, as far as kind of tying it here into Iowa, the state of Iowa, if you're listening to this, especially for anybody that's not from this state, I think this is important to hear. There is a lot of creative content that is happening here in the state, and it needs a louder voice because, granted, in the scheme of things in the United States, Iowa is not going to be your first hotspot when you come to thinking of film production, entertainment, things like that. You're going to think of places like California, New York, Austin, Texas, etc., etc. But there's a lot of things that are moving and shaking here in the state. And a film festival does not need to be Sundance to have special projects be produced and created at it. So if in my own small way I think I can bring a voice to that, I would certainly like to do that. But I think here in the state, to answer the question, I think it produces conversations that might not ordinarily be had here, because you have a group of people in the state that are pushing their creativity and their arts to a broader audience here in the state, and they're kind of challenging against that norm of, oh, this is just the flyover state with the corn and everything like that. It's changing. And film festivals can help people have conversations about things like that, just by, taking them in and just giving yourself the opportunity to go to them. Last question here before I switch over to another section here. this one I'm going to try not to ramble on, because if you're interested actually in my thoughts on this, I did an episode where I talked a lot about this subject, so I won't go crazy on this. How do you feel about streaming services and the abundance of content that they are providing? This one's a tough question, not to go all old man yelling at the clouds kind of thing. Look, on the positive side, streaming presents wonderful opportunities for people that ordinarily would not be able to qualify for theatrical distribution to go ahead and get content out there. It allows a lot of different things to get made that I don't think ordinarily would. So on that respect, of course, I'm not anti-streaming, right? But I do think that's something that I certainly feel right now, and it's maybe just because I'm so steeped into paying attention to what all these different creators and filmmakers are doing. It's overwhelming. I mean, it can be really overwhelming trying to pick out content from the plethora of streaming services that you have to pick from, be it Netflix and HBO and Hulu and Paramount Plus and Peacock, and, you know, like the list goes on and on and on. And you know, it's like if you have a job, you have a family, you have friends, you have projects like this that you're working on. I don't know how you could expect to keep up with all of it. And I feel like there's a lot of that being felt right now in society where people are just burnt out on trying to keep up with everything. So the con on this is that I think it makes it really challenging for people to decide where to invest their time. People are constantly being pulled in a lot of different directions right now. So I think with, unfortunately, the ease and accessibility of technology that's offered to make a lot of this stuff and get it produced out there, I also think it is kind of dangerous, and sometimes people need to slow it down and not just be so quick to just keep producing, but take your time with things and actually put out something that has some quality and meat to it, and will have some rewatchability, most importantly, so that you're not having to feel like, okay, now I put this out, and now another year's coming up, and I got to have something else out. I think you have to really focus on the quality over the quantity, and I think of that from the viewer, because the average viewer does not have all that time unless they are unemployed or maybe living on disability. I don't know. You have all the time in the world to sit around and watch stuff. Fantastic if you do. Tell me what's good. Okay. Fun questions, because I think these were very serious kind of standard questions on here. I got some fun ones that got submitted on here. I actually, if it's not terrible, Jake, do you want to come over here? I'm gonna summon you.
Tapping in.
Here, I'm tapping him in. Here, I'm gonna move this around over here. The reason why I'm bringing in one of the producers here of Mediaverse is because, not that I don't enjoy rambling to myself and of course to you, but these are fun questions, so I'd like to hear his answers to some of this stuff too. So I think it'll be a good time.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, Jordan.
What's going on?
Oh, man.
Mediaverse Studios, shout out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're happy to have you, man.
Now you've told me as well that nobody used this backdrop yet?
This is the first time.
Because you have a couple backdrops.
Yeah, so over there we have our horror podcast set, and that was a recent podcast we did with Carson Morrissey. We sat over there and had a really great time, and then over here we've used this a few times.
Carson is an encyclopedia when it comes to horror.
Oh my god, absolutely. Yeah, she's brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah, over here we have our study set. But yeah, this is the first time anyone has seen the cinema set put in action.
I love it. So I had fun questions that got submitted from the listeners of ScreenSpeak, and I mean, of course, I can answer these to myself, but I'm like, we'll bounce these off each other. Let's just see where this goes. So one of the people that asked me a question, they asked, if you could cast yourself in a movie, what type of role would you choose to be in a movie?
Goodness.
Now, you've done some short films. I know that. So like you could cheat and just say that. But
one of our movies? No. Man, that's a good question.
Yeah, it's tricky.
And it could be any role in any movie?
Yeah, they say, if you can cast yourself in a movie, what type of role would you choose?
What type of role? Okay, so
yeah.
I mean,
there's a lot of ways you could answer that.
I would love to be a part of anything. Oh, I love the Alien franchise. Okay, so I'd love to have been.
There's a TV series that's being made right now for that.
What?
Fede Alvarez, the guy that made the Evil Dead stuff, the remake stuff. He's
seriously?
Doing it. Yeah, no, I'm not kidding. Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's actually in production right now, or
That's
it might have
amazing.
gotten on hold from like the strikes and whatnot, but it is
Hey.
happening.
Listen, I would love to be in the Alien franchise.
They're like, hey, if you're still shooting that show, get me
You need to
on.
be casting. No.
No, wait,
and
now-
I'm not an actor either, but I would just love to be a
But
part
wait,
of it
if you're
any
in
capacity.
the Alien show, like, are you gonna be like one of the first explorers that like discovers the eggs? Are you staying on the ship? Like who are you in
No,
the movie?
I
You
think
get, you
my-
get killed by it?
Absolutely, yeah. My personality is
Absolutely, you
such
didn't
that
even, no hesitation.
I would absolutely be the guy looking into that, like, ooh, what's this? And it's like, you know, like that's who I am. I think just as in terms of like, I'm definitely the cat that got killed by curiosity.
I'm trying to think for myself. So, like, if I could cast myself in a movie now, I mean, first off, I kind of almost read that. Like, would that mean like I'm playing myself, like doing some like unbearable weight of massive talent thing, where I'm like going meta with
Yeah,
it
you were
and
Jordan
doing that?
Anderson in the Jordan
But I was like,
Anderson movie.
no. I don't think that's how I took the question. So I think for me, I mean, science fiction, I do gravitate towards that genre. So if there's like a sci-fi role, I mean, that would be very, very cool. I would also think that because I don't have acting chops, or at least professionally, I would want to probably be like a character actor kind of role.
Oh, sure.
I definitely want to try to like lead a picture or something like that just to start. I think it'd be fun to be like the not like smart aleck sidekick friend or something like that, but like I would like to be like a buddy to somebody in a movie.
Yeah,
like if there was
I
like
could
a
see
buddy
that.
relationship in there, I'd like to be like the sidekick that's like, oh, I really like that guy's always like hanging around him. I'd like to be
I could
something like
absolutely
that.
see that. Yeah, you've got
Yeah.
the vibe for that.
I don't
for
know
sure.
like why that's where I go to with it.
You're
but
the one that like in the all is lost moment. You're the one that like shows up and brings them out of their pit,
Yeah.
and you get
Yeah.
the third act going.
Okay, let me ask you this. This is another question that got submitted here. And again, thanks everybody that took the time to either
thanks.
DM me, email me. I do have a voicemails thing that I was trying to do. We'll save that one towards the end, but we'll get there. Here's this question: what is the strangest movie recommendation that you have received that you actually did enjoy, despite going into it being like really skeptical?
Oh man,
There's some good questions. Like you all submitted
that
some
is a
good
great
ones.
question.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm gonna let you think about
I had
that
a
while I
friend
ponder it.
recommend Dead Alive to me.
And what is that?
That is, you don't know what Dead Alive is? Oh, I'm
I don't.
so
I
thrilled
don't
I get
think.
to
I
tell
don't
you
think
what
so.
this movie is.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Okay, so Dead Alive is directed by Peter Jackson.
Okay, like
The-
Lord of the Rings,
Yeah,
Peter
Lord of the
Jackson.
Rings. Yeah. And this was
Okay.
back in the earlier mid '80s in New Zealand. It was shot in New Zealand.
Of course.
Back when they were trying to build up their their film and artistic industry.
Yeah.
And so he developed this movie. It also goes by the title Brain Dead. You might know what is
No, I mean,
Okay.
no.
that.
Usually, like when I think of like Peter Jackson early works, there's that movie he did with Michael J. Fox, the Frighteners. Is that it?
I love similar. Same vein
I
as
feel
The
like that's
Frighteners.
like
Yep.
the earliest exposure I can
Yep.
think of with him, but I can't say I've heard of that.
Same spiritually similar. Like it's very that horror comedy, kind of over the top, just silliness. But man, it's sort of a zombie movie.
Yeah.
I suppose it's like this evil monster rat, bites a lady and she turns into a
Monster rat.
zombie, and slowly
Love
turns
it.
into a
I love
zombie. And there's a guy that's trying to hide all of this from the woman he loves and the whole town, essentially. There's just hilarious one-liners. There's liters and liters of blood. I think that on set they used something like 3,000 liters of fake blood
Whoa.
in this movie. There's, oh my God. Dude, this
Wow.
movie is, and the practical effects on this thing.
Well, I was just
are
about to say, when you say it's
outstanding.
that much blood, it's got to be practical.
Yes.
Has to
yes,
be.
so many practical effects.
Mm.
And they're brilliant. Like
Yeah.
they're even for like the 80s, even for today's standards, these
It
things
holds
hold
up.
up because there's literally
Yeah.
like there's a shot of like a dude's face getting ripped off.
Oh,
So,
Jesus.
like a zombie like punches through this lady's mouth, and it's so realistic.
Mm.
And I think it goes down on a list of like some of the best practical effects out there.
I could do a whole podcast on practical effects.
my
Like, there's a lot I could say, and also on blood squibs, by the way. When people get shot,
Ooh,
like the
yeah,
actual blood, like not the CGI shit, but like the real stuff.
Yeah, you gotta see
Yes.
Dead Alive, man. It's brilliant.
I'm trying to think to answer that question. Strangest movie recommendations that I've enjoyed. It's going to take me a second to try to piece this together. I know one that comes to mind, weirdly enough, is the movie Stranger Than Fiction with Will Ferrell.
That's a good movie.
A friend of mine a long time ago recommended that one to me, and I definitely didn't see it when it came out, which I want to say is around like 2006, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
It could be off a little bit. But Will Ferrell, I mean, one, stepping in the dramatic territory, I mean, that always kind of, certainly makes you kind of take a second glance because you're like, person kind of steering out of what they're typically known for, which, by the way, any actors that happen to be listening to this, don't get boxed in. Seriously, don't get boxed in. I love it when people break convention and they do something that you're not going to expect.
I like it especially after they've been typecast. Like Will Ferrell, he's the funny man, but then to see him go into a dramatic role,
and it's not his first time he's done that.
Yeah.
Shout out to the movie Everything Must Go. If anybody ever wants to see like a good, just kind of solo Will Ferrell movie, it's almost like a one-man show practically because he's in it for a lot of it. Really good movie. But Stranger Than Fiction, I guess the reason why I think that's a strange one to me, I guess maybe that's how the title kind of forms in there. You have Will Ferrell kind of breaking convention. It's a very different story narratively in how it's told. Mark Forster, the guy that did, I want to say he did 500 Days of Summer. Could be off on that. Wow. But it is not told narratively traditionally because it's almost breaking the fourth wall in a way because it is a story where the characters in the written story turn out to actually be real, and so
nice.
it's playing with reality the whole time, and so it's kind of a mind trip of a movie, but it actually really has a beautiful message about just kind of not trying to like overthink and over anticipate your life, but just kind of going with the flow of the ups and downs. Like, it's a great movie, so I would definitely recommend that one.
Nice.
Okay, next question.
Ooh.
Do you, Jake, have any movie rituals or habits that you insist upon when you are watching movies?
It depends.
Whether they be at home or in a theater. I should also say that because there's definitely a difference.
It changes. Yeah, so it changes on the setting, right? Am I watching it by myself? Am I watching it with someone? Or am I watching it in a theater?
Right.
Those are three different rituals. By myself, I have to have completely dark. Like I can't have any ancillary lights on. I gotta have some kind of food, some kind of drink. I've got to be very comfortable.
Yep.
And I need to basically like shut my phone off and just immerse myself in the movie. Unless it's like if I'm dedicating time to watch the movie, if I'm doing a project or something and I put on something that I've seen a million times before, that's different. Yeah. But if I'm like going in for the experience, I gotta like fully immerse myself in it. I think my favorite solo film experience at home is I put a hammock in my living room and like had a beer and just put on actually that's when I watched Skinamarink.
What?
You remember? Did you ever hear that movie?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so no. Skinamarink is a analog horror, very experimental.
You're definitely a horror guy.
It's generally always horror for me, but I like all the kinds of movies.
No, it's cool.
This just happened to be around Halloween last year, I think.
Sure.
But yeah, that was kind of that experimental analog horror that came out from this guy that did YouTube videos, and he did like a series of YouTube videos that were analog horror and just made a feature with this story. And not a lot of people got it, because it came under a lot of like backlash, like, oh, why is this, so popular? But it got actually a theatrical release. It sort of went viral. But when you watch it in the right setting, you watch it completely dark with the volume turned up, all alone, you sort of start to get it. And the fact that they're really capturing the sense of these children that are home alone watching cartoons, and there's some sort of malevolent presence in the house. But it's all environment, and this movie is built based on that. So that helped.
Interesting. I'll definitely have to take a look at that one because, and in general, horror, as far as the genre goes, everybody, it's definitely probably like my least educated one, I guess. Though actually, weirdly enough, went over to my mother's house with my wife on Halloween, of course. And I brought over a bunch of physical media, Blu-rays and 4Ks and whatnot, because I still do that. Advocate for physical media. Don't let it go away. Sorry, just got to throw that in there.
We love physical media.
And I knew that she'd probably like want to watch like Young Frankenstein, something like that, because that's always a classic, and like she loves that movie, and I'm fine with it. But like I was going through the collection and bringing a bunch of movies over. I owned a lot more horror movies than I gave myself credit for.
Well, there you go.
Like it was a lot more than I thought. Like there was like Crawl, the alligator movie.
Oh yeah.
Lake Placid, which that's
Also
Weirdly enough, I'm
alligator
just
movie?
thinking alligator movies, like The Shining, Doctor Sleep. I had like arachnophobia. Like
Yeah, man.
I had like a pretty good range, and I was looking. I'm like, I got like. My wife laughs. I brought 25 movies over, and she's like, "Why are you bringing that much? Like, we're not even gonna have time for like all these." I'm like,
You
I
gotta
want
pick
there to be
options. You need
options.
options.
Like, people need to select. I don't know what they're gonna be in the mood for. Like,
Right.
it's what I think about.
Absolutely.
Okay, but movie rituals
Yeah, what do you
myself.
got?
You know, so I've been called. I admit I've been probably called a tight ass when it comes to watching movies sometimes because I respect the craft of filmmaking so much, and I understand how many people it takes. I mean, it takes an army to make a movie. I don't care if it's like a smaller one, if it's an army of 10, you got an army of 1,000. It's a lot of people that it takes to go ahead and collaborate, make it, distribute it, etc. So that being said, I almost take watching a movie almost like I'm watching like a stage play live. Yeah. At least the first time. You know, I mean, if I've seen something like a bunch of times, like, you know, I might talk through it a little bit or, you know, have some fun.
Give it the reverence it deserves.
Exactly. No, exactly. Because, and even if it's like at home, I'm like, I'm about to watch somebody's work that they probably busted their ass on for God knows how long. Like you said, the light's got to be off. I'm not going to talk. The phone is way the hell over there. It's not going to be anywhere near me. And I give it my full attention. That's what I want. I want full immersion on that.
That being said, okay.
Yeah.
So if my partner and I are watching a movie and we're doing that, you know, it's quiet, no one's talking, phones are gone. And then, you know, we start to get pulled out of the movie. It's, you know, some line doesn't land right, or the cinematography is off or whatever, and we start to realize, okay, maybe this movie isn't, maybe it's a bit of a stinker or whatever. Yeah. Then we kind of like allow ourselves to talk and maybe like, okay, are we gonna roast this now? Yeah. Okay, let's have fun. You know, and then it's still a good time.
Yes.
You know,
and that is the experience that can definitely happen when you're with a person, right?
Yes.
Because like if you're alone, like it's not like you're gonna be like, this thing kind of sucks. Like I'll just start, you know, making commentary about it. Unless you're gonna be weird and record like your own like DVD commentary sort of thing. Maybe you'll do that. But actually, shout out to the bonus features again on physical media. I keep promoting physical media, but commentaries are great. Like, seriously, I really wish more people would take the time to actually go back and listen to some filmmakers' commentaries. It's amazing. You will learn all kinds of things either about the craft or just about how a filmmaker looks at viewing one of their own movies. It's incredible.
I was talking to Chase Stein in one of our podcasts, and he was talking about he got into filmmaking because of the intensely deep behind the scenes featurette that they did for one of the Star Wars films. And he saw like how the sausage was made, and he loved Star Wars.
Sure.
And then he watched this and like how they did everything, and that's like, okay, I want to do that. Like, I'm going to be a filmmaker because of how they showed me how, you know, how to do all these things.
Yes. And I always actually think an interesting thing just on the subject of behind the scenes, and I have a theory on what I'm about to kind of, you know, gripe about a bit, but obviously like certain behind the scenes featurettes on films are going to be more in depth than others, whether that's just the amount of time they have to get it to be produced, because there's actually like a whole industry of people that's what they make behind the scenes content for films. People almost don't even talk about that, but it's a whole subset industry within entertainment. But what I always kind of find is I'm like, why don't you see more in behind the scenes where they're actually like just showing the uncut version of like a scene being shot? Because you'll see like little snippets of it, right? Like they'll show like a couple seconds of like, you know, the, you know, camera operator doing something, a boom mic up here, you know, cranes moving around, but they don't just let it actually show it breathing and like in its full thing. Sure. And my suspicion for this is that it's almost like a magician revealing the trick. If they show too much, maybe they don't want to reveal the ways that they're doing it, or it's just they're not thinking about it from that level. Sure. But I'm always curious because I'm like, why the hell are you not showing me more? I want to see actors in a scene just do it without all the effects and stuff thrown in there. I want to see it. But that's just me. Okay, I got a couple more questions on this section here. What are your most quotable movie lines? Somebody asked me that.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, this one's probably like not as hard, you know. I mean, like you can think we're going to need a bigger boat and things like that, right? You know,
man,
a lot of the big ones.
I think that, okay, so a lot of Will Ferrell's movies are just endlessly quotable.
He does have a lot.
You know, Step Brothers, the other guys.
Yep.
I can think of any other Will Ferrell movie right now. Michael, help me out.
Anchorman, of course.
Anchorman, thank you.
Yeah.
Jeez. Adam Sandler movies. If you're looking for like a funny quip or a comeback, like any of those one-liners that come out of them are just hilarious. And now that I'm on the spot, I can't think of any other like quotable lines, but there's so many. The one that's coming to mind right now, because Thanksgiving is the next like holiday coming up, is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Yes. And you've got just John Candy and Steve Martin just killing it, having the best time of their life making this movie. And I just keep thinking of, oh my God. Every now and then I'll just say like, those aren't pillows.
Yes. Well, they...
if I'm like doing laundry or something.
So I think either this year or this last year, they did release it on 4K finally. And there is an exclusive, I want to say like about 17 minutes of never before seen deleted scenes from the movie. So like if you're like a student of John Hughes and that sort of thing, I would definitely recommend taking a look at that. One of the things always on that movie that I find very, very interesting, and I have seen the deleted scene for it. Spoiler for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I imagine you've seen it by now. If you haven't, what the hell are you doing?
Come on.
Towards the end, you find out that Dell doesn't have a home.
Right.
You know, you get this heartbreaking sequence in the train station where, you know, he's just like, I don't have a home, right? And then it cuts, of course, to the iconic shot of them walking down the street holding the trunk, right? It's amazing. You know, the Every Time You Go Away song is like playing and you're just like, oh shit, I'm ready. But interestingly enough, there is a monologue that John Candy gives, and you can watch it.
Oh.
Like, he gives it, like, when he's in the train station, like, further explaining what's happened, like, where's his wife, like, why is he all there?
Wow.
And it's actually, like, a really good piece of acting, but it's sort of, like, debatable if you think it was good that it was cut. Because Steve Martin's on the record saying that he wishes it wasn't cut because he thinks it's just, like, a great piece of acting from John Candy.
I mean, yeah, John Candy was an incredibly capable actor.
It's really interesting.
And he was always cast like the big funny guy, but man, he could actually like get to someplace. It was impressive. The other thing that I saw, I remember those behind the scenes got released because I remember seeing on social media just this clip of John Candy like eating a chili dog and smoking a cigarette at the same time. It's like the most disgusting thing. And he's just like, give me like a solid like 3-minute take of you just eating and smoking in the grossest way you can imagine. And he's like flicking this little like thing that falls off the hot dog at somebody.
So there is So actually, shout out to past Screen Speak episodes. I have an episode where I talk all about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So if you want to listen to my full thoughts on it, you can definitely check that out.
We will link it in the show notes.
I don't think I mentioned it in that episode, so I'll mention it now because I always think it is one of the most brilliant fucking edits that I've ever seen in the film. Okay, I'm giving it really high praise. I'm going for it. So in the movie, early on, first act, you have John Candy sitting across from Steve Martin, and there's the moment where they're looking at each other. They're not saying anything.
Oh, right.
But they're looking, and they're like, I know you from somewhere, right? They're having this moment, they're just kind of like, you know, like looking, like, where do I know this guy from? And they do this brilliant superimposition. Like, I don't even know how they did it special effects, where, like, they show in his mind, John Candy's kind of, like, silly, delirious face when he's just like, like in the taxi cab, but they like superimpose it in the airport. Like the taxi door is in the airport. Like it's not like just like a flashback to the scene.
Oh, like they made it a set piece of a taxi door and then him back in that same costume, back in there.
And it's like it's like it's maybe like 2 seconds. Like it is like quick. It is very quick. But like I've always gone back and I'm just like, I appreciate that they did that.
Right.
That they didn't just like go to like, you know, just like a quick flashback to the clip they already shot.
Rebuilt the taxi in the airport. That's cool.
I love seeing attention to detail like that. So anyway, shout out to that guy. Whoever did the editing on that. You're amazing. I hope you're alive. Let's see. What are your thoughts on guilty pleasure movies? I got a hot take on this, but
really? Okay, yeah, absolutely have guilty pleasure movies. I mean, like you've got to have the ones that you just, I don't know, you're ashamed to love.
Do you have any examples?
I mean, it's going to be a horror movie.
Right.
And it's going to be probably Malignant. I don't know if you've seen that one. That's a James Wan movie.
Yeah, I have not seen it. I've heard of it.
Like, filmic-wise, it's not
that old, right?
It's not that old, but it's not great. But oh my god, it's the most fun movie. Like, just to watch it is such a fun experience to like sit down and just enjoy this thing because it's absolutely bonkers. Same with like, what am I trying to think of here? Okay, guilty pleasure movies.
Yeah, it's tough. It's putting you on the spot. It's supposed to be
It
me on the
is.
spot,
It is.
but-
Yeah. Well, okay. No, your turn. You talk. I'm gonna think about this a minute.
Okay, so I'll start with the hot take, but I will answer the question. I actually don't believe in guilty pleasure movies. Okay.
Okay.
No, I'll tell you where I'm coming from for this. It's not to be different or anything like that. I just think you should like what you like and you should own it. Don't feel guilty.
That's fair.
Just, yeah, I like this. If it's like a dumpster fire that the critics all hate and you like all the critically acclaimed stuff, that's fine. It's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to feel bad about it. Now, I understand that that's not necessarily like you're taking the question kind of literally if you're looking at it like that. There are certainly movies that I like that I'm sure certain people would be surprised to be like, really? Like, with all your good taste, you like that piece of shit?
Okay. Give me an example. You can't just say that. And
Yeah,
not give
of
one.
course. So, an example that comes to mind is Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
I love that movie, dude.
Now,
It's so bad and so great.
It's such a pile of shit. It is absolutely a pile of shit, and there is way over the top acting with it. The scene I always go to where, like, if you're just gonna like watch it and just laugh your ass off, there's a scene where Shao Kahn, which I can't think of the actor's name that plays him, but he weirdly enough is in Joe Dirt. He puts the Joe Dirt in the hole. If you've seen that movie, that'll make sense. But he does this scene where like he's walking into like this like palace where his evil dad is at. The father is walking into the palace and Shao Kahn's on his throne and, he's like, Shao Kahn, like, I'm here to see you. And then Shao Kahn gets up, he's like, father. And he does this ridiculous front flip that has like 8 fucking angles on it.
Right,
and you're just like, why? Why was this necessary? Why couldn't he just walk down? What the hell am I watching?
Just way over the top.
It's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
It's a horrible movie. Yes, sir.
Someone named MC Colander said the Cat in the Hat live action is completely insane, and I love how weird it is.
So Cat in the Hat, if you're bringing up that movie, which also thank you, shout out to, what's his username again?
MC Colander.
I'm just going to call you Colander. Thank you for watching. Appreciate the question. I always actually think of Alec Baldwin in this uncomfortable shot they have where he's picking the lint out of his belly button. It's super gross.
What?
Yeah, it's in that movie. I swear to God.
I have not seen this movie.
Why that's what I remember? I don't know. But that's interesting. It's very interesting.
I think that Mike Myers did make a few like guilty pleasure movies, like Austin Powers.
he had
Man,
to
they're
have.
just like hilarious to sit down and watch and have a good time with. Have you seen So I Married an Axe Murderer?
Yes.
That's my favorite Mike Myers movie.
That's one of the first movies where he did the multiple characters, right?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
he
played
plays
his
other
own
members of his
father,
family in the
Yep.
movie. Yep.
Yep.
Did you see the Netflix series that he did, the new one?
Uh-uh.
Yeah. He plays like a bunch of people in like a secret like Illuminati society. I can't think of the name of it, and I feel like it just kind of came and went. I don't know if it was like good or bad or whatever, but yeah,
That
it's
seems to be
definitely
his way. He
interesting.
kind of comes and goes.
I mean, I think like he made a name for himself with Wayne's World and Austin Powers and
Yeah.
SNL. I mean, like, this is actually a thought I have. Like, I'm not trying to like stem it with this, but like, honestly, it's almost like a band in the one-hit wonder sometimes when I look at actors and what they're able to contribute to
Sure.
the conversation in movies. I'm like, if you're lucky enough in your lifetime to make even one movie that connects with a wide audience and has staying power,
Yeah,
like, shit. I mean, bravo.
absolutely.
If you're able to sustain it over a career and make multiples, I mean, like,
That's
goddamn,
insane.
like
That's
you
all
have
I
to
can ask for.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I don't know. So, next question on here, and it is the last one before I have a game I'm going to play, everybody. So it's going to be fun. Okay. Oh God. If you could change the ending of any movie, what would it be,
Ooh.
and how do you change it?
Oh man.
You're all giving me these questions that I'm not going to be able to just be like, oh, I
These are
got it,
such,
right off the top.
Like, give
of my
me a
head.
genre, give me a decade, and then I can maybe
it could
narrow
go
it
anywhere.
down for you.
You could go anywhere.
hmm?
You could go anywhere.
Yeah. Okay. What is a movie that you don't like the ending of?
Oh, well, actually, I have it right off the top. Matrix Revolutions.
Yeah. Okay.
Third Matrix movie. I think that whole movie actually works pretty well up until you get to the end. It is one of those ones where like the ending is really, to me, what kind of tears it apart.
Right.
Now, how would I change it? I would probably have, I guess, made Neo's, if you want to call it, sacrifice, because I don't mind what they did there, like with him like actually having to like give himself to the machines
Sure.
and everything like that. But I definitely don't think I would have ended it on like, well, there's like a temporary truce and hopefully that lasts. I would probably have it be like more definitive and be like, no, like he like shut down like the machine mainframe and like the humans can maybe actually come out of their shithole
Right,
hole
like
in
maybe
Zion
we're seeing
and like
humans
maybe
like,
start to like
unplugging.
unplug and like actually start to rebuild humanity. But maybe that's too too straightforward and they wanted something that's divisive. It's hard
Right.
for me to say, but that's one that comes to mind where that ending still kind of bothers me. So
Right. Man, I think. Okay, and this is taking from the latest James Bond movie. Was it No Time to Die?
yeah,
Where they actually, spoiler
I mean,
alert,
it's been out a minute.
they killed James Bond.
They do.
Right. I think
Yeah.
that they should have done that with Top Gun Maverick.
Kill Maverick.
Yeah, I think that at the end you should not have had the heroic.
He
like,
just
saves
literally
them from-
what does he fly off into the sunset kind of right? Like they have this like heroic shot because Jennifer
Yeah.
Connelly gets in the plane with him and it's like very
Right.
romantic and sweet.
But like back in the mission, they're at the point
Yeah.
where like he's in the plane and he's, I don't know, maybe get the kid ejected and he can't, and so he like flies off and like makes his peace with his death and then gone.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been a more satisfying ending. I know people would have rioted that Tom Cruise died in a movie finally.
He doesn't
but-
really do it that often. It's kind of like Clint Eastwood, like barely dies in his movies.
Right? Has he ever? Let me think.
Collateral.
Yeah, that was
That's what I'm
See,
always.
that's a great
yeah,
movie.
That's a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting one, for sure. I do think that like it certainly would have tore the audience's heart out for the movie because
Yeah.
Top Gun weirdly enough has like this quality where there's like this, I guess there's this underlying feel good like pro like America military kind
Sure.
of underlying pros to it. So
Yeah.
maybe they didn't want to kill Maverick, but I can see that. Trying to think of another one because I should give one more answer besides The Matrix. I'm trying to think of like a less obvious movie that's maybe not so divisive. Be
What's
a
come out
pause for
recently? I'm
this.
trying to think of what I've recently seen.
And Michael, you got anything?
I don't. I've been thinking. I can't think of anything.
It's
I
okay.
completely agree with Clerks 3.
Clerks, yeah.
Dante should have died.
No, let's talk about let's
Okay,
talk about this for a
come
second.
sit in the chair and talk about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, come here.
I'll trade you.
Did you watch Clerks, Jordan?
I did.
Clerks guy?
Clerks 3, we're talking
we
about.
can talk about this.
All right, Michael's coming in.
Yeah.
Oh god.
You're the man that has all the scripts autographs.
Yeah, dude, I'm the biggest.
Yeah, let's definitely talk about that because I actually have not had a chance to talk with anybody about this. Shout out to Michael Huntington. He's
What
in the
up? What
house.
up?
What's up?
What do you want to know? What do you?
Okay, so I mean, the ending of Clerks 3.
Yeah.
I mean, like let's just talk about that for a second. What did you think? I mean, what's your take?
So it's actually funny because I was recently watching Clerks 2 again, and there's that scene. Well, really, it's the ending of the movie where it's like, Dante finally gets what he wants out of life. He gets a beautiful wife. He gets to open the business, and it's a great ending to Clerks. And they open it up with spoiler if you haven't seen it, his wife is now dead, and like that's the only thing I wished was different was that Rosie O'Dawson dying because her character was so good in Clerks 2.
Yeah.
That part hurt, but to me, I feel like Clerks 3 is the most beautiful ending, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
We went to go see Kevin Smith live in Iowa City,
Okay.
and he explained it really well. He said that in the original Clerks, which you can watch the alternate version, the alternate ending, someone comes up to
Yeah.
Dante and kills him, right?
Yep.
So he was like, it's weird and it's twisted, but that 20-year-old version wanted to kill Dante. So in this last movie, I let that 20-year-old first-time filmmaker get his wish and kill Dante.
Right.
So it was like, that makes so much sense. I also just think like Dante, like for me, Randall dying would have been a horrible fucking ending. Dante dying makes sense. Dante's kind of, I don't really like his character that much. I watch him because of Randall.
I mean,
But-
Randall is definitely he is a scene stealer in all the
yeah.
Clerks movies. I mean,
Yes.
like his I don't even want to say like his zaniness, but like his just doesn't give a fuck. Like
Yeah.
just the way he kind of speaks, like it'll shock you. You don't know what comes out of his mouth.
Well, and the cool thing is, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I actually think Kevin Smith was supposed to be Randall. And he
Really?
wrote all the dialogue because that's how Kevin Smith talks, right? So he was like, I want to have the best lines.
yeah.
But then I think, I can't remember, who plays Randall?
Jeff Anderson.
Jeff Anderson, yeah. Jeff Anderson auditioned, and he was like, "Oh, dude, that's the better guy," And so, like, Randall was Kevin Smith in the earlier movies, and then I really think like Randall in Clerks 2 and Clerks 3 really became his own in terms of a character. But to me, Clerks 3 is a perfect ending to a great trilogy.
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh no! I love Clerks 3. Oh well, because we were talking about endings that we didn't like. I was figuring you were gonna say that. Clerks 3.
So I can tell you this.
Yeah,
okay, I can tell you this. So I have only seen Clerks 3 one time. Okay, I bought the Blu-ray when it came out because again, on physical media, and also shout out to Kevin Smith actually, by the way, because he gives a shit about his physical media releases, and he purposely makes a point of that on the discs.
Yeah,
chocks it really full of a lot of features for the people that are actually like the diehards and like actually pay attention to this stuff. So I don't
have the Blu-ray, but is there like an actual behind the scenes?
There is.
Oh, see, yes. I want to watch that.
Yes.
Yeah, I need to watch it. Anyway.
But I can definitely say, like, when I saw the ending, it was polarizing, I think, to say the least, because it almost, like, I guess, kind of, like, felt to me like when they're, like, at the funeral and whatnot, like, with Dante, I was like, holy shit, like, he's really dead.
Yeah.
Like, I actually was kind of, like, surprised that, like, he was going for it, especially this kind of emotionally heavy-handed with the movie. But then I also know that his last movie, I'm trying to think, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. There's a lot of like weird, like kind of like autobiographical elements to it a little bit, where like he's interjecting a lot of like where he's kind of at in life, his personal stuff. Obviously, the heart attack situation makes its way very clearly into the Clerks 3 plot. But I definitely think that it's like, I don't know, I was torn because it's like you just love the duel of Dante and Randall so much that I'm just like, shit, man, like I don't want it to end.
There's so many things, man, because also in the second one, when Dante's going to leave to Florida, he tells Elias, he's like, well, when Dante's gone, you're gonna become my new best friend.
You're right.
So it's almost like he predicted it in a way, obviously for a different reason, but at the end, Elias is right next to Randall, and it ends like that, and now Elias takes place of Dante in an unfortunate way because Elias is annoying as shit, but yeah, man, I don't know, and it's just like the editing, the ending sequence when Dante is in the theater and watching the movie, like it's beautiful.
That is a sequence where it's like it's hard not to well up a tear.
Dude, in the theater I was bawling like a baby. Well, because like these guys are my idols, man. I've been watching them since 1990 something when I was a kid.
I do think that Kevin Smith very, very well so is very self-aware of his audience.
Yeah,
I think he really is in touch with the people that like his movies.
Yeah.
Some people may say that he's a little too self-aware.
Yeah.
I would actually argue that a little bit. I think sometimes he sacrifices the self-awareness for a better narrative. I think there could be a better way sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's like, who am I to say? I mean, like, the guy came from nothing. I mean, Clerks literally is his introduction into him getting recognition. So how he chooses to end the story, that's on his terms.
Yeah, man. Well, and that's the thing. You can never take that too serious. Are you eating chips while we're doing a podcast?
He's definitely eating some
You better
chips.
Adam Sandler it. And
but they're barbecue chips, I think, right?
Eat those quiet.
Honey barbecue.
Yeah.
I respect that.
They're like a knockoff brand. They don't respect it.
Oh, it's not even the Lay's?
It's not Lay's, no.
Oh, Jesus.
No. It's some knockoff Hy-Vee brand. I don't know. That's Mediaverse Report.
He's just going to crunch loudly into the
Don't do it.
Okay, wait. Anything else you want to say on the subject of the ending of Clerks 3?
I don't think so, other than it's a great movie and people take it too serious online. I'm a part of a Kevin Smith fan page, and people were so upset about
what were they saying, the people that you saw?
Just like it's a disgrace to the trilogy, and
because it like does the super serious killing of him,
well, then they don't like how this Clerks is so serious opposed to like the first and second one,
sure.
And and I understand it, but at the same time, it's like, what else would you want them to do? Because, like, here's the thing, man. Seeing them in Clerks 2, they're much older. It's like, okay, it's not too bad. Seeing them in Clerks 3, I'm like, holy shit, these guys are old. What do we need a Clerks 4 when they're all fucking 80? No. It makes sense, man. End it like this. And end it while Kevin Smith is alive and he can end it the way he wants,
I will say this, and I'm not saying that I like this or dislike this, but it's certainly an observation I had with the ending of Clerks 3 that made me think about it after the fact, which, honestly, I mean, hey, kudos to a filmmaker that makes me think about their ending after the fact, so obviously there's a reaction.
Yeah.
I actually, as hard as it was, watching, like, the death of him, obviously, like, there's a really painful side of it where I'm sure, like, Randall, the character, like, if he was able to, like, say his last words to him differently, because I'm pretty sure, like, they have a heated fight, like, before he dies.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, like, it's pretty fucking gut-wrenching. Like,
Yeah,
when,
before
like,
the heart
when he
attack,
does,
yeah.
like, when he does actually pass.
Yeah.
I think there is, like, a deep underlying thing in there, and whether or not, you know, it may not be laughable, but I mean, friendship, it's like you don't know how good you have it till it's gone.
Yeah, man.
And I think there's really some powerful strokes in the movie about that. And sure, it's
Yeah.
not comfortable territory, but I mean, that's, I think, always what Clerks was different about it, is that, like, yes, you have, like, the really, like, you know, raunchy comedy and, like, really, like, accurate commentary about, like, how, like, real retail workers will talk shit behind the counter and whatnot. Like, if you've had that kind of a job, you get it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, I think there's a lot of heart in all three of the movies. All three of the movies have, like, a real strong heartbeat in there.
Yeah.
Maybe loudest and tragically in Clerks 3. It's not for me to say, but I get why it's, you know, why it pisses people off. Because, I mean, if it was me, I don't know if I would have personally killed him. I don't know if I would have. But I respect Kevin Smith for doing it.
I just don't know what else you could have did, man.
It's his story.
He lost everything.
I don't know.
Dante doesn't even want to be alive anymore.
I mean, that is true. Like, you have, like, the death of him and the baby.
Yeah, everything. You know, he is nothing. You know, so I don't know.
I mean, I love Randall, but Randall would probably get on my nerves after a while.
Oh yeah.
I mean, always like that.
Yeah.
Like,
It's fun. It's funny, but if he's like talking to you all the time like that,
Jesus, man.
it's like, all right, grow up just a little bit. But yeah.
Okay, so wait, I have a game. Do you want to play this game with me since you're here?
We can try. Jake, do you know what you're doing over there for the game?
Yeah.
I don't think
he claims that he does.
No. Okay. Jake's going to play the game.
Okay,
with
Jake, you come play the game with me. I promise. It's a very well thought out game. Okay. The producers are coming to help me. Not that I couldn't play this game solo, everybody, but it is better if I have a person with me here. So while Mr. Jake is coming to get ready here, let me just explain what this is, okay? So I have an app on my phone. That's why I'm on my phone at the moment. Mr. Jake is coming over here. Oh my gosh, thank you, sir.
Cheers.
Okay, so shout out to the people that make My Movies Pro, okay? This is an app. You can look it up in the Play Store. Apple, they're not at all a sponsor of this. It's just I really like their app, and I wish more people would talk about it, so I'm doing it. It's about $5, so you do have to pay for it. But what this app is, and it's incredible, you do have to do a little bit of a manual work on it because you have to scan your physical movies. But what this does is it archives all of your physical media that you own, whether it be, I mean, shit, you could own VHS for all I care. It will have the barcodes on it. So if it's VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, shit, 8K.
You just scan the barcode?
You just scan the barcode.
Oh, that's
all
easy.
you have to do. And you can do multiple at a time.
That's using typing.
So, like, I was able to pretty much get my whole collection into it in, like, less than an hour, probably.
How big's your collection?
According to the thing, because of course it tells you, it says I have 509 movies, but that's but that's not factoring in like the box sets. So like if there's like Alien, like I have the Alien collection, there's 4 movies in that.
Okay.
I don't know if it factors that in there.
So it could be upwards of like 600-700.
It's possible. I definitely think it's around that. My wife would probably strongly say like, yeah, you have too many, but I don't believe
That's
in
not
such
true.
No, I don't. I don't believe in such a thing. So the game that I came up with for this, I don't know where the hell my notes went. They went over here. I have it. I don't need my notes. So what I thought would be fun on this, because I actually do this sometimes when I go to watch movies, especially when it's the physical stuff. I like sometimes, rather than staring at the shelf for like an hour trying to figure out what exactly I want to watch, I will do like this thing where I'm like waving my finger around. I'm like, stop there. And then I pick the movie and I'm like, fuck it, that's what I'm watching.
Oh, that's cool.
It's kind of like it's impulsive, and then you might watch something that you are not watching in your collection as often. So what I thought would be fun for this is I can just scroll my finger along here. It's all alphabetical, but I can just scroll my finger along here and close my eyes and stop, and I will select that movie. Okay.
See, they need like a random function because I feel like
it would be nice actually.
Just like, hey, give me a random movie and I will watch that tonight.
I don't know if there's a way to do that. So while I'm exploring the way to do this, which I'm looking at, there's not. You can make lists. So you can make like playlists of like if you have like maybe like Like, let's say, like,
Oh,
you
like
love...
a Halloween movie set.
Well, yeah, like if you like Halloween movies, or maybe you're like, I love Brian De Palma films, and
Sure.
I want to make like the ultimate Brian De Palma playlist. I can put like Scarface and Blowout and like all these great movies.
So it's kind of like Letterboxd a little bit, but for
it is a little bit,
physical
which I just
media.
downloaded that actually, and I signed up for it. So do you use that Letterboxd?
I do. I also use Plex because I have a lot of
Plex?
digital movies.
What is Plex?
Plex is a lot like that. It's like a movie library, except it actually has the movies like digitized on them. So like I have a server at home of just all my digital copies of movies, which physical media is superior, but sometimes you gotta have digital copies.
Physical media is the bomb, thebomb.com. Okay. I don't know why it's trying. So it does try to sometimes update your information that you have in here. It's fine. So this is what the game is. I'm going to scroll and just basically try to land on the movie. And then I'm going to have Jake scroll. Okay. Because he can do this too. And he will go until he randomly picks a movie. And we're going to argue amongst ourselves about which movie is better.
Between the two that we pick?
Between the two that we pick.
Right.
And it does not matter what the title. If it's like, you know, let's say 10 Things I Hate About You, and you're comparing it to American Gangster, you still have to defend it like it's better than American Gangster.
Okay.
You see where this could
probably...
Okay,
but if I have not seen the movie, we have to do a redraw.
Yes, if
I
you
feel like
yes,
you've seen more movies than I have.
if that is the case, if you find one that you haven't seen, then yes, we will definitely. Okay. I assure you, I have something in here that you've seen.
Oh yeah, I've seen it already.
Okay, so I'm gonna close my eyes for a couple seconds here and just scroll, and then maybe like 3-second rule, and then you can just say stop, and I will. I will stop. Okay, so here we go.
Ready, people? 1, 2, 3, stop.
Okay, I actually do have to do a redo again. I landed on the George Carlin comedy special. Not that I don't love Mr. Carlin, it's not a movie, but it is part of the collection. So okay,
ready? 1, 2, 3, stop.
Knocked Up.
Okay.
Seth Rogen's Knocked Up.
You're defending Knocked Up.
I gotta defend Knocked Up, no matter what.
Right.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Oh shit!
Schindler's List. Okay, I haven't seen Schindler's List in like 20 years.
Do you want to pick another one?
I'm gonna pick another one.
Oh, thank Christ! I'm like...
and there's honestly no defense.
I don't know how the hell am I gonna compare the two?
I'm gonna hit a dinger right off the bat. Okay, ready?
Okay. Oh wait, hit that. Okay, there you go.
Ready? And
yep, you're good. 1, 2, 3.
Earth documentary. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, okay, try again. 1, 2, 3. Red Rocket, you seen that? Oh, shit, that's a good movie.
Sorry.
That's
my god.
No, it's fine. It's a Sean Baker movie. You know who that is?
Yeah.
So he did like the Florida Project. It's a great movie. 1, 2, 3.
Nothing.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Unbreakable. I have seen Unbreakable.
Okay.
Those are okay.
Okay. Have you seen Unbreakable?
I have.
All right. Screw it. Knocked Up versus Unbreakable.
Unbreakable.
All right. Why is Unbreakable a better movie than Knocked Up?
Unbreakable has superior character development in terms of Bruce Willis discovering his power, unveiling the villain that is Samuel L. Jackson, the
spoiler,
son.
Man, Jesus.
All right, spoilers if you're
you
from
seen the Glass trilogy.
I haven't seen the 90s.
No.
And in terms of like learning to do what he has to do, it is, by all accounts, the best superhero origin story. Better than anything Marvel or DC have made.
I will say with that movie, because of course Unbreakable is phenomenal. I do have the 4K for it because yes, I'm a visual snob.
My man.
It is very, very cool. I don't think they marketed it at the time because I never saw it in theaters when it came out, but I do remember that they didn't like blatantly just be like, this is a superhero movie.
No.
You know, I mean, this was following up The Sixth Sense. You have to remember the timeline that it came out. So there was actually, I remember almost like an air of disappointment when the movie came out where people were like, oh, like, where's the ghosts and like stuff like that. Like there's none of that. But he was doing something different, and like he really subverted expectations and was basically low key making a superhero origin story without making it obvious that he was doing that.
I think that he didn't set out to make that. Because like I think it was almost like a satire of all of the, because like back then you had like X-Men coming out, you had some of the, was it probably earlier MCU? No, probably wasn't. It was like the like worse MCU, like Daredevil and all the like Ben Affleck, whatever. And so superheroes were starting to become mainstream cinema, and so he took that and he's like, let's make this dark. and let's make this not about the powers, but about the people. And I loved that. I think that, and the cool thing was like, they marketed it as just like, this person is invincible on accident, and like we don't know why, and like what does he do with that?
All right, well, let me tell you this. Seth Rogen is so much better than Bruce Willis in that movie because he's a lot funnier, okay? Bruce Willis is way overly serious and Unbreakable. Like, it's honestly, like, just depressing to watch him. I mean, like, David Dunn is a depressing-ass character, okay? I mean, he's married to Robin Wright Penn. I mean, come on, you have it made in the bag, and he's screwing that up, too. So, Seth Rogen, fun man-child, stone throughout the opening of Knocked Up, with, I would almost argue, like, the greatest comedy tree there. I mean, you have Jonah Hill, got Jay Baruchel, got Martin Starr, for God's sakes, from Silicon Valley. Judd Apatow. I mean, like you have people in their comedic prime before they even know it, and you know, I just it's a lot easier to watch. Unbreakable. I mean, shit. Like I feel like I gotta wear like the trench coat and like, be in the rain. Like it's so self serious, and like they're having like all these like subtle like comic book stuff. Like this, I can just. I mean, not that I do this, but like I mean, I could take like a bong rip and just watch this movie, and I'm probably gonna have a good time, except to the point when Katherine Heigl comes in and basically brings him back to reality, and you're like, like now you have to be a father, and you know maybe you should have worn a condom and like that kind of thing. So there is that respect.
In terms of public health, it is a good.
In terms of public
it's a
health.
Warning PSA.
Think twice before you go out and try to meet a lady at a bar and do things.
I would say that's the message that I got from that movie.
Sure.
Other than have really good friends and you can
That's
make
true.
it work. But I'm gonna stay with Unbreakable, man.
You're gonna stay with Unbreakable.
It's a superior film in terms of cinematography, in terms of music, in terms of effects.
In terms of music, I mean, like, look, James Newton Howard. Okay, like, look, I mean, great. He has some, you know, Visions is a great track off that. I give you that. But I don't know. I mean, like, I'm trying to think of. I'm trying to think of the songs that are in Knocked Up. I mean, it's got like, isn't there like some like hip hop in there? Like,
I'm
there's
sure
some stuff with
there's
some beats.
something.
Like yeah, like Mike's giving me a thumbs up. Like yeah, like where's that in Unbreakable? You got like the like this moody theme. No,
We like Moody. We like the Moodies. All right, next round. What do you got?
Wait, we want to do this again?
Yeah.
I was gonna say Knocked Up versus Unbreakable is not a great thing. Okay, okay.
We have to have at least one more round of this.
Yeah, one more round. 1, 2, 3. Passengers.
I have not seen Passengers.
I think I can still talk about it if you're good with it, unless you want it to be. Let's have it be something you've seen, because then.
Oh, okay. You're going to talk about it, and
Yeah. And I'm sure I'll find something here that you've seen. So,
let's go.
1, 2, 3. Stronger. You seen that with Jake Gyllenhaal?
Mm-mm.
Oh shit. Okay.
I need to get
1, 2,
film literate.
3. Perks of Being a Wallflower. You seen that?
Nope.
God damn it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
1, 2, 3.
I have seen lots of movies.
Happy Gilmore. Come on.
What is
You were
that?
talking about Adam Sandler.
Yes, of course I've seen Happy
Jesus,
Gilmore.
hey,
God damn it.
Okay. Happy Gilmore will be mine.
That's going to be... Okay, that's a tough act to follow.
Yeah,
1,
I mean, but like if you get like
2,
another critically
3.
acclaimed one, it's going to be super simple.
The Gray.
Yeah, we can do this.
We can do this.
Yeah, we can do this.
How come I get all these dark, moody things?
I know,
and
I'm
these
getting all the light
comedies?
comedies.
Damn. Okay, this is actually a pretty decent debate.
Yeah, The Gray. Okay, why is it better than Happy Gilmore?
Okay, so The Gray is the story of a pack of wolves that is hunting this troop of men.
It is.
And their entire goal is just to defend their territory and eat.
The wolves' goal, yes.
The wolves, right.
Yes.
And you have this one ass that's just trained really well in killing wolves, and we don't like that.
We don't like that he kills the wolves?
Well, no, this is a wolf story.
Just because, like, we want to preserve... I mean, the wolves are cute.
I'm sorry, no, I'm defending the wolves here.
Yeah, I was going to say, like...
Okay,
there's
no, this story is
activism.
absolutely beautiful. It is... It's beautifully shot. You have these wonderful cinematic wides. You get a lot of this great backstory of this guy on a journey, basically mourning the loss of his wife and trying to keep this group of dudes alive after a plane crash. And his whole thing is that he is trained in wolves and how to protect against wolves. And every turn he
I feel
gets,
like he's
he loses.
self-taught. I just want to throw that out there because I doubt the oil company that hires him is just like, we have a wolf killing guide for you. I feel like he had like a life before this
Probably.
where he was like a hunter, skilled.
I think he's a skilled hunter. That's probably
Yeah.
the best way to say that.
Otto is his character. Why the hell do I remember that?
That's a great, good callback.
Yeah.
I saw this in theaters in college.
It's a fantastic movie.
I remember
I'm just saying.
this was like one of the-
defeating my own argument.
As an
but-
adult, one of the first times I cried. You
Yeah.
know, like, wow.
Well, because there's a big underthread in that story about like just the will to go on living.
Yeah.
Like finding your
Absolutely.
purpose in life.
Isn't
It's
there's
really
a scene where
heavy.
he almost like commits suicide.
At the beginning, yeah, he puts the rifle in
Right.
his mouth in the snow.
And he's like ready to go, and then they're like, nope, you got to come on, get on this plane. We're going
And
home.
then it's weird because throughout the whole movie, you're just like, okay, wait a minute, dude. You were ready to just end it right there
Right.
in the snow.
Right.
But yet, you're the more like morally sound, controlled person in this survival situation with these other passengers.
Right.
And yet, you're finding this desire to live in you that you didn't even know was there.
Right. Oh,
It's crazy.
great storytelling.
Now, you know what else is great storytelling is Chubbs and Happy Gilmore. Okay, so
and Otto.
I gotta try to work this in somehow.
We got to do this. This is
So
great.
okay, so Happy Gilmore is a better movie than The Gray because A, it has more staying power. Okay, people are gonna remember Happy Gilmore far more than they will about Liam Neeson strapping some broken beer bottles to his hands to fight some wolves at the end of the
fair.
movie. Now, I will also say that Carl Weathers is amazing as Chubbs. Okay, I know people will
Agreed.
think of him as Apollo Creed, but Chubbs, give him some credit. Like that's like up there with the Hoosiers coach. Fan freaking
Gene Hackman.
tastic. Yeah, I'm just throwing Chubbs up there. Let's see. Why else is Happy Gilmore better? It makes golf less of a stiff sport for rich white men. I'll throw that out there as well.
That's true.
I think it definitely made golf more popular for sure.
I can't tell you how many like TikToks and like Instagram things of just like people trying
They try to
Happy
do the swing.
Gilmore swing.
Yeah, they
Like
they
they
run
go
up
to a
at the
driving range
ball
and
and
they do it. And
do
sometimes
the
they
whole
actually
thing.
nail it. And there's actually some. I'm not a big physics
Can you
guy, but,
actually
like,
do?
It actually
you can
works.
do the swing. You can do it.
I can't. No.
But like you've
I-
seen people like
I
they
have,
can
yeah.
they can do it.
Yeah, I've swung a golf club once in my life ever.
I used to actually, so I used to take golf classes or golf lessons, not classes, golf lessons for about 2 years. I want to say when I was
No kidding.
when I was smaller, I was at the Twin Pines Golf Course in Cedar Rapids.
Wow.
I was never very good, but it was fun. I had to carry my golf bags all the way up my house
Dang.
where I live. It kind of sucked, but let's see. So why else is it better than The Gray? Okay, so first off, Adam Sandler is a lot more funny than Liam Neeson. He's not funny in that movie at all.
That's true. That's
I
true.
mean, he's like very like just like he's all upset about his wife. I mean, it's kind of a drag. I
Yeah.
want to watch Happy Gilmore and have a good time.
That's fair. I mean, okay, so I will give you this. Happy Gilmore has a lot of different philosophies in filmmaking. There's man versus man. Obviously, it was like
Straight.
Happy versus Shooter. There's man versus
Shooter.
man versus Beast. We've got the
true.
alligator versus Chubbs and versus Happy Gilmore.
Oh yeah, that's
You know,
true.
there's man versus nature. He's on a golf course and he's fighting the elements, and he's the whole like tower comes down and like he has to
Yeah.
get around that, and so you get like all three there, and it's pretty good.
There is also a lot of memes that have been made from Happy Gilmore. I don't know if like there's necessarily memes for The Gray. Not that there needs to be, I guess. But if I'm looking for an argument, which I am, I'm just trying to find anything to say that
Anything
Happy
at all?
Gilmore is a better movie than The Gray.
Man,
Yeah.
it's close. It's
game
close.
is
I mean,
close.
I feel like we should have started off with like a rubric or something to like grade against, but
Yeah.
we're kind of making.
Well, because when you let me ask you this, Jake. Steering off the game a little bit, but it's in the same vein. If you're, dare I say, grading a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I notice everybody's a little different about this. You know, you got Ebert and Siskel; they're going to give it the thumbs up,
Sure,
the thumbs
sure.
down, 1 out of 5 stars. I mean, do you adhere to any sort of rating system, or is it just purely if this has my I'm vouching for this, it's good? Like I don't know how specific you get in your recommendations.
For me, I don't have like a rating system like where I give points or whatever.
Yeah,
But
that's-
I do like have the general rule of like story is king, right? It can look
Yeah.
like crap. It has to sound good. But
Cheers, by the way.
cheers, man.
Cheers.
Having a good time.
Episode 100.
100
There we go.
to you.
Not at all sponsored by White Claw. I just want to throw that out there. But hey, you
Right.
never know.
That's why we cover the labels. No, but like the story is going to be king, right? It has to be compelling, entertaining. It has to flow. It has to adhere like to the, not always to the rules of storytelling, but it has to have a logical progression.
Yeah.
Right. It can't just be like The Room that doesn't make any sense or like
The Room,
goes nowhere.
like the Brie Larson movie.
Right.
I've only seen that once. I mean, I did read the book though too. Did it make sense to you? Like,
No.
Why?
No, Tommy Wiseau.
Oh Jesus. Okay, I'm thinking of literally like the Brie Larson like.
No, I didn't know. I knew what you said. No, Tommy Wiseau.
No. To be fair, that is Room, and then there's The Room. You're talking about The Room.
The Room.
I did not understand. I know what you're talking about with Tommy Wiseau's The Room. What is that? You're tearing me apart, Lisa. Ah!
My best friend, and I love Sarah so much.
It's the worst Tommy Wiseau impression, but
man.
yes, I am familiar with that.
But yeah, it can be any genre, any actor. I mean, like, obviously, like, the vitals are nice to have. Good cinematography, good acting, good lighting.
Sure.
Good, effects that don't pull
that's
you out of
what
it.
gives things the staying power and makes people talk about them years later.
Sure. And, like, well written. But, like, the story is the most compelling part to me.
I would agree. I would absolutely agree.